Hey guys, Roshi is here. Today I wanted to talk about my curse deck. This deck looks to utilize curse synergy and a lot of minions that give us power to ramp into said curse synergy, and really does a good job of actually stabilizing against some of these aggro decks. We've got 4 main deck Permafrost and Avigraft, so we've got tools to fight aggro. That aside, let's dive straight into it. You're going to see here that we are playing minions all the way up the curve, and that is because we are playing Restrained Action. I was originally playing 4, but I trimmed it down to 2, because right away it doesn't actually do very much. You kind of have to use your other cards and generate like a stable board, or at least a board where you don't die next turn. And then you can slam Restrained Action, and every turn you're going to slowly crawl ahead, and if you're not dying in the first 1 or 2 turns, you know, you're going to be slamming massive 3-drops, and like your 4-drop's going to come down. And this card's great, and you'll see more about how great it is as I go through some of these units here, and I'll be looping back to talk about this card because it's kind of the backbone of the deck. Starting up in the 1-drop slot, we've got Ghostblade Outcast. There's other options, but Exalted and Lifesteal is hard to beat. Like I said, this is primarily just there because we needed a 1-drop to fetch, but even in the mid game, it's a good card, and early on, it's fine. There's not really a stage of the game where we don't mind seeing this against certain decks, just because it helps us stabilize our life. If we've got 2 or 3 minions on the board and we play Ghostblade Outcast, it's gonna bog down their combat, because then you threaten moving this lifesteal over to maybe something with endurance, or move it over to another minion, and then you've kind of blocked their ability to kill you or slowed them down significantly, because you can gain some life back. So pretty solid card. I liked it more than say the one that gives Wanted Poster, or just another 1-drop maybe with more stats, simply because of that Exalted and Lifesteal. There's some other fun things we can do. If we grab Korovyat Palace out of the market, and we give Ghostblade Outcast +4/+4 in endurance, I've ended quite a few games by doing that, where our opponent doesn't even give us the chance to like attack after that. We just slam Palace and they leave. Parole's Choice can also be used to pass Aegis around, so you could give Outcast Aegis and then let it die, and then give Aegis to something else, and then that's pretty cool. Just a little cool synergy there. Hojan, Crownbreaker, and Icaria. These are our 2-drops. Both of them a little different in what they do. Hojan's super aggressive. If he drops on turn 2 and he doesn't die, he's going to really cement your life total. Just tracking in for 4 every turn, and assuming it's not getting blocked, that's an 8-point life swing every turn, so pretty solid. And unfortunately, both of our 2-drops and our 1-drop all die to 1-power spells, so we're gonna die to Snowballs, Vara's Favors, and whatever that 1-drop black market card is. I don't remember the name right now, but those cards are all matched up pretty well against us. But the upside of these guys creating power cannot be understated. We want to just slam down these guys, and if they untap, we're going to use them to get power, and that spikes us up to 4 power, and that's when the deck starts to really pop off. So we really need these guys to bridge the gap, and even if they eat a removal spell, it's really not the end of the world. We just need to be doing something so that hopefully our opponent isn't also doing something. Aali, really cool card, works well with curses too. So she if you've got a Kodosh Sees All, we can actually give her flying. In Restrained Action, that's +6, so she'll be a 7/7. One of the most common things I'll see in a game is maybe I'll play Aali on turn 3, and then next turn we follow it up with an Avigraft and kill something, and then Aali becomes a 5/5. Or maybe we play her on 3, and then on 5, we attack with something, and Sediti comes down. And then all of a sudden, she's a 6/6. Like, it does not take much to buff her in this deck, and the silence ability is relevant. So, being able to silence something and then have like a huge threat on board to like block, that can be pretty rough for some of our opponents to get around. Rime Conclave Smuggler, just really solid card. I'm using this over the other market cards because he gives us Aegis, and him having Aegis himself is pretty huge. Aegis can definitely come in clutch in quite a few scenarios, or protect your life, or whatever. Just really good asset to have. 3/2, trades with a lot of things. Solid card. Forbidden-Rider Outcast. This is really... It's one of those tools that's like kind of a switchblade, but more of like an RPG. You know, like the switchblade or the classic multi-tool. It's really good at handling all kinds of different situations, but Forbidden-Rider Outcast is definitely more of an RPG. It demolishes multiple scenarios. Against control decks, Curse of Loneliness, that's a huge threat for them. They have to like... We've got a 3/3 that's attacking in the air, not that great, but dealing 1 damage to them every turn of the game and getting 1 health can be what it takes to race a control deck while they're furiously blowing up all your stuff and trying to stop you from having fun. So pretty solid. Another good way to stack curses on your opponent for other cards that I will get to very, very shortly. At that tie-in, we've got Archgryffyn Patriarch, drawing cards for each curse that an enemy has and on themselves and their units. This card pops off, and I just want to come back to Restrained Action here. If you slam Restrained Action, every single unit they play gets this -1 curse on it. So in the late game, when this has happened, and let's say your opponent's playing just like a lot of creatures, they're going to have a lot of curses flying around, and maybe the board stalled. Well, Archgryffyn Patriarch's going to come down and just refill your hand like a boss. This card is really good, and it's the backbone, the backbone of the deck. Drawing cards is huge. Replacing all of your minions and making up for... It lets you make plays where maybe you lose value, but, you know, maybe you're just spreading curses around, and there's a good argument to just play your removal just because... Even if it's on like a 1/1, just so that when this comes down, it replaces it and you can play more removal. So, pretty cool. Jotun Hurler, we can snowball our Hojan, we can snowball our enemies' units. We just need some... It's also just good material for markets. This is nothing new. Only reason I'm not playing the full 4 is we just needed room for our other 5-drops. Speaking of other 5-drops, we've got Sadiddy. I already kind of talked about him. Sediti, whatever. Making the 5 curse, even if like right away you don't trigger it, or even if it only triggers like once throughout the game, it definitely puts the pressure on your opponent to attack. And when he comes down, he's a freaking 6/6. So your opponent... is gonna need like some pretty beefy minions to win combat. So what'll end up happening is you jam Sediti and your opponent will just suicide something into your board every turn, or they'll just attack with everything, and often you'll get to pick their best minion and block it. So it can be pretty solid, just as like a pressure tool. And being a 6/6 is crazy. It's got warp as well. This card just does all of the things. Potentially there's a world where we play 4, but being able to curse, be a big body, and warp, pretty good card. Camoni and Parole, these are just kind of our top ends. I was looking for just big things that are super relevant in certain matchups, but maybe a little slow, that we could grab with Restrained Action. Camoni... pretty self-explanatory. Just hard counters some of those spell decks where, you know, every turn they're just killing everything you do. So you slam Camoni and then they don't have any non-spells, so they might just have to pass their turn right back to you, and then you've got him, and then you play something else, and maybe that's enough pressure to stop them. If they do kill him, you just do it again. Pretty cool. Parole, just, you know, the stereotypical curses end boss. It's nice having access to one. It is a little slow, but when it comes down, giving double damage to all your Griffins can be cool. It can be a way to close out the game. We've got a few Griffins and these guys, and Kodosh Sees All. But for the most part, there's not too much Griffin synergy here. There's a little bit, but not enough to play more than one of this guy. He's pretty helpful though, even if you've only got one or two things. I've totally just jammed him as a make two blockers and try not to die. Gavel, just a one of to tutor. We were playing Parole's Choice, which lets us grab any curse from our deck we haven't played so far, or protect one of our minions. And Gavel is just a one of, and we could put this in the market, but since we've got tutor spells, we might as well make use of them and include this in the main deck. If it's ever a bad card in the matchup, we'll just pass it off to our market. It's fine. And but this can really shut down some decks that rely on their void, like some of the Talir's like Last Chance decks or anything along those lines. Permafrost, Avigraft, both of these are pretty similar, just dealing with minions. Permafrost, staple card, stuns things without killing them. There's some minions you don't want to kill, but it's also a curse, so it fits the theme. Avigraft, this can be risky sometimes. If they're playing cards that kill your relics and stuff, this is one of the first things that'll get targeted. So oftentimes you don't have a choice and you're just kind of playing this on curve, but there are scenarios where you can actually wait and try and bait out, like, there's that ambush guy, the 3/5 that pops a relic. You can play something else, or even play another Avigraft, and try and bait them into playing it, and then once they've played it, you Avigraft that guy, and then you get to keep all of your relics for the rest of the game, which is cool. I talked about Restrained Action more than enough. Kodosh Sees All. This is just the big bomb we tutor for. Comes down and every turn makes a blocker, so pretty cool. Makes a blocker, makes an attacker, whatever. Just it's a way to close out the game. Silverblade Intrusion. This is a new inclusion into the deck. I was originally playing more Jotun Hurlers and other cards, but this card, because we're playing a few cards that ramp our justice, sometimes as early as turn 4, we can slam this and make a 3/3 with Revenge and add another to our hand, and then turn 5 we can play the 3/3 with Revenge. So there are scenarios where this absolutely just wrecks the game. This is probably I'm playing 4. I probably don't need to be playing 4, but I've liked it so far. Maybe cutting 1 or 2 for more power sources could be an option, but I kind of like the deck the way it is. You'll see in these games that we just roll through a lot of people. The market, we've got Royal Decree. This is just kind of a staple. There's an argument to change this to Turn to Seed, but I consider this more of an anti-control card or an anti-combo card, and that's the slot this is trying to perform. And we want this to come down and rip whatever our opponent's main game plan is out of their hand, that we can execute ours. Vision of Austerity creates a curse, which we're a curse deck, so we like that. And if someone's playing like a troublesome relic, or like a deck based around a relic like Mask of Torment or Crown or whatever, Palace, we can deal with it and it's gone forever. Or if they're playing relic weapons that are like punching your face in, you can play this and deal with it. Harsh Roll, it's Harsh Roll, it blows up the board. Sometimes you got to do that, and being able to turn 3, play Rime Conclave, block something, and then maybe play something else turn 4 just to block or do nothing, and then harsh rolling could be a pretty big swing and go a long way towards like stabilizing, because then they'll play their minion and we can start relying on our 1-for-1 spells. So certain matchups, this can go a long way towards stabilizing. Korovyat Palace, this card just ends games, it draws cards. Half of our stuff are 4/4s, like slamming a Patriarch and drawing a few cards and giving it Aegis. It can be pretty crazy, especially if you untap with it. Even scenarios where you're kind of behind and you just need to draw something, you can slam this card and just draw 2, and your opponent's pretty obligated to attack it or kill all your minions. And if they don't, you'll be sitting with a 4/4. It can also just be used when you're like kind of even on the board, because then all of a sudden one of your minions is huge and has endurance, and now they have to deal with that minion and your sight, and maybe they're still trying to race, so slows them down. Emerald Waystone, this is my way of hedging. I probably could play more power cards, but since I have access to this, once I've hit my 3rd land drop in my market, I'm able to sometimes I just want to keep hitting land drops, so I'll just get rid of something out of my hand, whatever's not relevant in the matchup, play another land. Giving the 1 shield is just a nice bonus, why not? We've got a ton of justice cards, so we can get away with it. And pretty solid as far as a consistency standpoint goes. I've always been a fan of playing power in the markets, and there's some decks that don't want it, but when you really want to curve out like our deck does and hit your 5 drops and 6 drops kind of on time, this can go a long way towards making sure that happens. But this is my curse deck. I hope you enjoy the games. Check it out. Thanks. And has potential.
Stop. Never break.
This city will burn.
Good news for us. We're gaining some life here. Oh, we don't want that right now. We already have our 5 drops. We want to be drawn into some Permafrosts. Early game. Jotun Hurlers, something.
Step aside, tyrant.
Opponent made an oopsie.
The rebellion lives on.
No escape.
Yeah. As long as we can keep doing this. I don't mind playing Sadiddy here. Still at 21. Now he has to deal with Sediti, and this guy's still a threat.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, he's got only bad options now. Well,
Our wings and will are unbreakable.
this is a lethal attack.
Face judgment.
Force at least one blocker here. Or not. 5 minutes of my life where we took turns getting power screwed. And I'll never get back.
Our wings and will are unbreakable.
Untapping here would be pretty big. Looks like we're gonna get it.
Our wings and will are unbreakable.
And of course, after we've
Face judgment.
grabbed our land, we will gladly offer the trade here.
Face judgment.
Not gonna block. Our guys are gonna get pretty chunky next turn.
Are unbreakable. Face judgment.
Chunk squad.
Another round in the chamber.
Finest weapons in Lyria.
Sadiddy's coming in thick. E. Oh, is he gonna check us here? Yeah.
Whatever you need, I love my work.
Did he use this yet? We need a blue power. Silence that.
A potion for any occasion.
Play the rhyme. Swap here. I don't really care about Royal Decree here.
Our wings and will are unbreakable. Face
Oh,
judgment.
opponent's got power for days. We definitely don't need Gavel. Attack with the homie.
A potion for any occasion.
And guess it's a harsh roll here.
Sorry, guess they've caught on.
To arms, warriors.
Pretty good draw there. Probably not as good as drawing a Primal Sigil, but pretty dang good.
In Icaria's name, you will be judged.
Bang.
We fight to survive.
Like he hit dragon. That draw was kind of zo-zo. Oh. That should seal the deal, right? Swing it in. I like all these tap lands. I like this even less, but I don't want to go to 6, and this is better than a 6. And does do something.
Die with honor.
We fight to survive. We
Fortunately,
fight to survive.
Oni Ronin might have just called exactly what this hand does. That's Die with Honor. Give lifesteal to our lifesteal minion.
Enemy sighted.
Ronin has cast 3 spells already.
Our wings and
Yes, so
will
have
are
we.
unbreakable.
Well, hopefully him using Torch already means our Icaria gets to live. I can hope. A dream. Chance.
Let's go.
Draw, mister.
Ah. Because there's some aggro card choices.
Face judgment.
They're not blocking here. That is terrible for us.
Glory in combat.
I like this play. Drew both our 1-drops, but we will hit
Each scar is a lesson.
hopefully we'll hit our 2-drop before we die. This should slow down any of his plays. Might not be enough. We will see.
You're mine now.
Probably the best possible draw there.
Will are unbreakable.
See if it's enough.
It'll get the job done, guaranteed.
Grabbing a boar here. Oh, that is pretty sketchy for us.
Glory in combat.
Looking like we're gonna get to gain 4.
Never stop. Never break.
Face judgment.
No escape. Justice. Never stop.
We will take all the 4s we can get. I'm not talking Tinder. Not talking disc golf either. Yeah, I'll take that double block. Take it to the bank. Got a 3-drop coming down here. Could just end up being Aali. Aali auction free.
The winds of Kodosh brought us together.
Be thick. Well, that was a fantastic draw.
A fine battle.
Hey,
No escape.
play we were gonna make anyways on top of our deck. Leave the fitting song for this is booty 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 rocking everywhere. I found you, Mr. Booty. I guess that's Mrs. Booty. He could be Mr. Booty. Together they're a bootyful couple. Yeah, I could be playing Call of Booty right now. Keep this. We have the chance to turn 3 pump our boy. Hojan Thronebreaker. We're gonna bottom that. This might be one of our first games where we can't draw 2 of them before we play our Restrained Action. And you know what? I'm okay with that. The file. Yeah, we can ditch Hurler here. What do we want against this freaking deck? Probably Harsh Roll. Maybe I was supposed to take a power.
I'll finish this quickly.
Oh. Now I can make that decision. A potion for any occasion. But what is the occasion? Alright. I'm liking this trend. Every time I go to cast Sadiddy, he's on top of my deck. And in my hand. What a legend. I guess you could say that warped the format. Who's going to Warped Tour this year? No one. No one is. Guys, guess how fast I'm attacking? Warp speed. I hope this isn't bothering you. I know I have a warped sense of humor. Well then. They're killing our stuff. I'd like to make sure that he can't kill my stuff anymore.